This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, on the move, sources say the owner of the Northern Pulp Mill is considering a new location in Queens County.
Delayed alerts. The parents of a child who died in last summer's flash floods say the tragedy could have been avoided.
And missing the deadline. Nova Scotia acknowledges it won't be barrier-free by 2030 after all.
Very warm conditions, inland areas up very near 30 in some spots today. We'll see that warm weather sticking around tomorrow. And we'll talk about the next best chance for rain as well. Those details are coming up.
Good evening. It has been a mainstay and a major employer in Pictou County for half a century, but the Northern Pulp Mill has not been without controversy, shut down in recent years for its handling of environmental waste.
Ever since, the company that owns the mill has been contemplating its future in the province. Now it's considering a move to Nova Scotia's South Shore. That is according to multiple sources who have spoken to CBC News. And as Michael Gorman reports, an announcement could come as soon as tomorrow.
Officials with Paper Excellence started talking about trying to reopen their mill in Pictou County almost as soon as it shut down in 2020. Now, sources tell CBC that an announcement is imminent that the company plans to explore the possibility of moving to Queens County. The South Shore region is no stranger to having a large mill operation. Famed industrialist Isaac Walton Killam founded the Mersey Paper Company there in 1929. Best known as Bowater, the mill continued to operate just outside Liverpool and Brooklyn until its parent company shut down the operation for good in 2012. Region of Queens Municipality Mayor Darlene Norman declined comment today, and a spokesperson for Paper Excellence did not immediately respond. While all of the company's public comments about restarting have focused on Pictou County, officials have mused in court documents related to Northern Pulp's creditor protection proceedings that they could explore the possibility of a move. Reporters put that question to Public Works Minister and Queens MLA Kim Maslin last week following a cabinet meeting. Maslin said she had no inside intel, but she would be open to the idea.
I would welcome any industry into our province if they're meeting all the requirements that is required of government, environmental, any type of permitting. But absolutely, there's a strong need for a pulp mill in the western end of this province.
Now, what a new operation in Queens County might look like remains to be seen. There are a number of differences between the former Bowater setup and Northern Pulp, not the least of which is the footprint of the two locations. But Maslin said last week she thinks people in her community would be receptive to her proposal if it's done properly. Michael Gorman, CBC News, Halifax.
We're learning more tonight about what went wrong during last year's deadly flash flooding. A new report shows how emergency alert issues made a bad situation worse for some desperate families. Kayla Hounsell now with parents who say more needs to be done.
6-year-old Colton Cisco was fast asleep when floodwaters began to fill his home. His dad tried to get him out of the area.
The water had a strong current in the truck. I didn't even know where it went.
Colton was one of 4 people who died after being swept away in 2 separate vehicles last July. Now, a new report from the municipality of West Hants says an emergency alert telling people to shelter in place was delayed.
We need an emergency alert put out for West Hants.
But the request comes again.
I need that emergency alert put out.
And again.
I really need RCMP to put that emergency alert out.
At 2:28, Colton's mom gets wind of these attempts and calls to wake his dad. And finally, nearly 2 hours after it was first requested, the alert is issued.
By the time the alert was issued, Colton was dead.
What do you think went wrong?
I don't think anything went wrong per se. It was an unprecedented storm.
The report says part of the problem was poor cell service. There was also no access to flood mapping. Though this after-action report has just been released, the Intact Centre on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo released a report in 2020, prior to the Nova Scotia floods, raising similar concerns.
Quite frankly, the more lethal outcome associated with the event perhaps could have been avoided.
The municipality has created templates to help write alerts faster and increase the number of people who can authorize them.
I'm so disappointed.
The Ciscos want someone with the ability to request an alert on call 24/7. They say they'll never stop advocating for Colton's friends.
I don't think I could just stop knowing that a whole generation is going to have to face this.
She says her family's tragedy should serve as a reminder that the time for action on climate change is now. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, West Hants, Nova Scotia.
For years, the province of Nova Scotia has been working to deliver on a huge goal to become accessible by 2030. But now, CBC News has learned Nova Scotia believes it will not be able to accomplish that goal in time. Investigative reporter Shayna Luck has the story.
Victoria Levac remembers the day back in 2017 when the province passed the Accessibility Act.
Well, I thought, oh good, they'll finally do something.
The act laid down a goal of becoming accessible by 2030, by law giving itself 13 years to act. But we are 3 years behind the province's original schedule. Levac wants to see faster action.
We're moving, but we're moving much slower than we need to if we want to be accessible by 2030.
We went to the province to ask about the delay. They've taken steps to speed up the process, but they also said this.
The goal of an accessible Nova Scotia by 2030 in the Act is tied to standards, and our understanding of that obligation is that all 6 standards will be enacted with compliance and enforcement wrapped around them by 2030.
How realistic is it that we would have a barrier-free province in 2030?
Nova Scotia will be a more accessible and equitable province by 2030, but we will not be completely barrier-free.
But that's not what the province has said in the past.
Last year, as many of you would know, Nova Scotia passed the historic legislation that will make the province accessible and barrier-free by 2030.
I went back to Victoria Levac and told her what the province told me.
Because they realize they're not going to reach the goal that they had set in 2017. Instead of saying, oh, well, we didn't reach our goal, which sounds bad, and like breaking a promise, they've chosen to move that goal.
She still believes Nova Scotia can become a truly inclusive and accessible province someday, but she feels it's not right to treat the 2030 goal as aspirational. And she says the province's position now is deeply saddening. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
Police have charged a man from Moncton after he stole a fuel delivery truck and crashed it off Highway 104. On Sunday at about noon, officers received a report about the stolen truck. Police attempted to stop the driver near the Cobequid Pass toll, but he refused to pull over, pulling into oncoming traffic instead. Officers stopped their pursuit, deeming it was a safety risk. A short time later, the truck rolled onto its side, spilling oil off exit 10. The man was arrested as he tried to flee the scene, and police seized what they believe to be heroin from the truck. The 40-year-old from Moncton is in custody, facing a number of charges.
Nova Scotia Health says emergency department visits for people who have a minor injury or ailment are down almost 10%. VP Derek Spinney says the figures show the measures to give people an alternative to visiting the hospital seem to be working.
Which is extraordinary, and what we're trying to achieve. And we're achieving that through many different ways, whether it be a chatbot, whether it be through virtual care, whether it be through urgent treatment centers that we've opened, the mobile care clinics, the expanded scope of the pharmacies. All of these things are having a total impact. So how much is any one of those things having on that number? I'm not sure. I just know that the total number is actually declined 9.2%.
Spinney says at the other end of the scale, the number of people showing up at emergency departments with serious health issues is up about 10%. He attributes that in part to a growing population.
A poultry producer just outside of Bridgewater who lost more than 200 birds to avian flu is still months away from getting the all clear. The deadly flu infected the farm in February, killing geese, guinea fowl, and chickens. Today, her farm remains under a biosecure quarantine. Preston Mulligan has this update.
Montana Pinheiro uses 2 pairs of boots here on her farm in Lower Branch. one for inside the biosecure zone and another for everywhere else. Some places like this red barn and the nearby greenhouse are off limits entirely.
We have 4 months to go before we can set foot in our own barn.
Avian flu killed 140 of her birds in February. Then the Canadian Food Inspection Agency visited and ordered her to destroy the remaining 70 birds. 3 months later, her small farm is still under strict quarantine.
The risk is there are still feathers and there's still poo somewhere. You know, we can't see it. And someone could step on it and then take it home. You know, they could even get their cat sick with it.
Pinheiro says she found it impossible to comply with CFIA's orders to disinfect every corner of this old barn. The only other approved option was to seal it off entirely and wait 170 days for any remaining virus to die off naturally. That means she can't get the feed stored inside for her pigs and a few cattle. She can't take those animals to an abattoir either. And when she does need feed from the local feed store in Bridgewater, she has to wait in her truck.
I'm not allowed to pull up to the dock with my truck and stuff, so I have to pull up a ways away and they come out with the forklift and bring me whatever I need.
During the whole ordeal, though, she says there were some nice moments. A local 4-H club came by and spent an afternoon cleaning out some chicken coops, and neighboring farmers have been generous with donations and offers to help. She estimates avian flu cost her about $30,000. CFIA says hers is one of 2 cases of avian flu in the province in the past 2 years, and her mitigation effort is paying off.
Yes, it certainly appears. To this point, we haven't had any detections.
Pinheiro says she expects the all clear to come on August the 19th, at which time she plans to rebuild her flocks. Preston Mulligan, CBC News, Lower Branch.
Pictou West will continue to be represented by the Progressive Conservatives. Marco McLeod was the clear winner last night, taking the seat with 72% of the vote to become the district's next MLA. The NDP candidate was in second place, followed by the Liberals and then the Green Party. The by-election was held to fill the seat of the PC's Carla McFarlane. She announced her retirement in April. At a celebration last night, McLeod thanked the large crowd of supporters and paid tribute to those who helped get him there.
I'm proud to be part of the Progressive Conservative Party of Nova Scotia. Our blue-collar work ethic is what has kept Pictou West blue.
Voter turnout was 48% of the eligible population. Jay Scotland is in for Ryan Snoddon tonight. Pretty nice day weather-wise here, certainly in the Halifax area.
Oh, fabulous day. Lots of folks with big smiles on their faces.
Yeah, it was warm by the water. It was very warm if you managed to get away from the water today. In fact, unofficially, did see a 30-degree temperature reported in the Bridgewater area. That was on the Mesonet. Not an official Environment Canada site, but certainly saw temperatures up into the mid to high 20s. Few spots did officially top 29 degrees today, so maybe seeing some other 30-degree temperatures when the full range of observations come in. In Halifax, in Stanfield, 26 degrees. I know it was a few degrees cooler near the water, and that's exactly what we're going to see tomorrow with a southerly wind picking up in the morning. We'll keep those temperatures for much of the city cooler than the airport temperature or that official daytime high temperature. As we take a look at the shower potential, because I know we have a moderate to high fire risk across much of the province. Right now, some wet weather would be a very good thing. We have been seeing some showers up along the Northumberland shore, so really northern areas, and really that's the best bet looking ahead for maybe seeing some showers tonight into tomorrow. Later in the day tomorrow, we don't just have a shower chance, but as we get into the evening hours in particular, warm enough with enough humid air in place that late in the day, you may even hear a few rumbles of thunder. Some isolated thunder showers could bring some locally more moderate rain to some areas. Here's a look at what we can expect tonight into tomorrow. tomorrow. It's likely going to be a partly cloudy sky. I'm not expecting it to be this clear for much of mainland Nova Scotia. The wind is fairly light and variable at times overnight, and when we have a fairly clear sky and a light wind, a bit of humid air in place, we could see some fog patches, even some patchy drizzle into the early morning hours tomorrow. Otherwise, we will watch for north of the city, maybe a few scattered showers to develop overnight into tomorrow morning. Well, those showers do tend to taper off, though, into the afternoon. And then the next best bet for wet weather coming late in the day. And these showers that start to build in, they're more pronounced for northern areas, could come with a rumble of thunder very late in the day. So here's a look at your next 24 hours for the HRM. We will watch for really just a quiet evening and some fog patches to set up later this evening that could linger into the morning hours tomorrow. In terms of wet weather, late in the day, temperatures away from the water, 25, 26, near the water between 18 and 21, 22 degrees. Either way, still not bad for this time of year.
Yeah, I'm liking the looks of that. Okay, thanks so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
You got it.
The biggest naval ships ever to be built in Canada will have the benefit of German engineering and training. The Royal Canadian Navy placed senior officers to train on the same German ship the two vessels being built in Vancouver are modeled after. It's as tall as a 5-story building and as long as 3 hockey rinks. Brett Ruskin got a chance to climb aboard when it docked in Halifax.
These replenishment or support ships are kind of like a hospital, a grocery store, a gas station, all in one huge vessel. The German version of this ship is the Berlin-class vessel. They've been operating for about 2 decades or so. One of the more recent builds of these German ships was here in Halifax recently, and CBC News got the exclusive access to go aboard, see this ship, and speak with some of the senior German Navy leadership. So I was able to speak with Rear Admiral Axel Schultz. Here's what he had to say about this class of vessel.
This is a great design, great German technology, and a very good design. And so congratulations that Canada actually bought this design and is actually building the Protecteur class.
So thank you to Canada, he says, because Canada actually purchased the plans, the blueprint, the design of this vessel, the Berlin-class ship, because it will be the framework for the 2 ships that are being built, Canada's own joint support ships being built right now on the west coast at the Vancouver Seaspan shipyard. The first one is set to be launched later this year, but even though these ships aren't launched yet, aren't tested, aren't ready to go for the Navy to take ownership of, the Navy still wanted to make sure its crew and its senior leadership aboard these vessels were ready to go. So it actually sent 4 crew members, including the captain of the first ship to be launched later on this year, across to Germany, come back across on this German supply vessel. So here is the commanding officer, the captain of the future HMCS Protector, talking about this experience.
I'm just so delighted to have had the opportunity to work with our allies and form some really big friendships that are going to last us, I think, throughout the remainder of my time in the RCN, but also building that relationship with the Germans with this class of ship, because in the world security environment today, the friends that we have today are the friends that we're going to need tomorrow. So it's really important to keep those relationships up. But I'm happy to tell you that they're alive and well between Germany and Canada.
So again, a sneak peek at this vessel, what it's going to look like once they are built and constructed. There's going to be one based here on the east coast in Halifax. The other will be based on the west coast. These specialized supply ships with, again, the first joint support ship being built and being launched by the end of the year. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
Over the past 2 days, about 70 people came before a public hearing on major zoning changes in Halifax. Councillors heard from both people for and against the Housing Accelerator Fund. Some say it would harm the city's character, while others say building more housing takes top priority. Most of the speakers were against the plan. It would allow 4 housing units on a lot within the service boundary and up to 8 units within most parts of the urban core. There's also more building height on transit routes and approvals of dozens of specific developments. But many people said it hurts neighborhoods, overloads infrastructure, and does nothing for affordability.
We now seem to be on the cusp of a disaster, sleepwalking into the oblivion of a national treasure and an international jewel through neglect and unintended consequences.
To approve the proposal would burden the city with 2 tall buildings on 2 small lots, be inhospitable to neighborhoods, snarl traffic, and begin the end of single-family dwellings on the peninsula.
But others were in favor of the plan. They say more housing of all kinds is needed to catch up with population growth, and it won't happen overnight.
All those changes provide flexibility. They promote the ability of builders to build cost effectively, and that directly in terms of building purpose-built rental property directly impacts the cost of rent. By making building more affordable, rent becomes more affordable.
I want to also address the people who are concerned about things like shade and privacy. These are understandable concerns. Everyone likes those things. However, these people are not entitled to dictate what their neighbors do with their property. This is a compromise that is part of what it means to live in a city and enjoy the benefits of highly developed infrastructure, nearby culture, and amenities. The idea that these concerns should be put above the needs of the city, especially in the urban core of all places, is absurd and irresponsible.
Changes would allow around 200,000 housing units across the region. Halifax got nearly $80 million from the federal government for the Accelerator Fund. Council will make its final decision tomorrow.
Local libraries in Cape Breton have expanded a program that helps people learn English. And people attending these groups say they're not only learning about language, but also about learning the local culture. Erin Potty reports.
Public libraries are often seen as gathering spaces. And now they've become a home for newcomers wanting to learn English. A year ago, Cam's son came to Cape Breton from China to study at CBU.
I think it helps a lot. At first, I dare not to speak with people, even maybe I know a lot of words. I couldn't organize them together.
Zun says when he first arrived, he spoke little English, had few friends, and was feeling alone. Now, he's feeling a connection to Cape Breton and hopes to stay after his studies.
If there is some resource that people can help you to improve, I think it is very good to help you settled in Canada.
Some newcomers say learning English is one thing, but understanding fast-talking locals and their accents is another.
Because when you say English, I'm not just saying like the formal one, like the academic or the business English, but it's important. I think it is important for us as a newcomers or as an immigrant to learn like the daily stuff.
Some of the daily stuff means ordering a pizza, understanding unique phrases such as clear as mud, or finding items at the nearby grocery store. The program's coordinator says through these groups, immigrants are able to build connections in their new communities.
When they first come here, they may have a friend here and there, but that's it. And they get to meet other families. They get to, discuss things, where do you shop, things like that.
Conversation groups are staffed mostly by volunteers, many of whom are retirees.
So it really builds a sense of community. And I think it's important to provide this because otherwise they're very isolated.
Kaiser says the program started 6 years ago with as few as 10 people attending. It's since grown to about 30 people in Sydney and has spread to other communities like North Sydney, Glace Bay, and New Waterford. Erin Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
A first-of-its-kind report that tracks the economic prosperity of Nova Scotia's Black community has been released. The African Nova Scotian Prosperity Index was presented today at the Halifax Regional Library. The index details data on African Nova Scotians and Black immigrants in the province. Shakira Grant is co-chair of the Youth Council and an eighth-generation African Nova Scotian. She says the most important aspect of data collection for Black communities is self-determination.
I have a parent that's an immigrant, but on my other side, I'm an eighth-generation African Nova Scotian. If I were to be counted in the census, I would not be counted as third generation or more because they count based on immigration status first. So I'd be considered a second generation. So things like that, exactly. So that's the type of things that, really make you wonder, like, what does this actually represent? And how do we correct, our data collection method so that we can more accurately reflect the reality?
The group behind the creation of the index says they hope to compile such data every 3 years.
A number of countries plan to officially recognize a Palestinian state, saying it's critical to achieving peace in the region.
An HRM councillor is calling for a review of the ferry service between Halifax and Dartmouth after repeated cancellations of crossings. He's calling for the service to be improved.
And Jay is back next with his weather forecast. We'll see you after the break. All right, some dry conditions out there. It sounds like we're getting a little bit of wet weather coming our way.
We could use some moisture, that's for sure, Jay.
Yeah, it's not a good soaking. It's certainly not widespread. Where we see some potential thunderstorms develop late in the day, that's where you could see some more moderate pockets of rain building in. And certainly Thursday night into Friday morning, we could see some more moderate pockets of rain building through. I do think with that moderate to high fire risk and the fact that we've been seeing some dry conditions, maybe a good light, steady rain for a day or two would be at least good for the lawns and knocking that fire risk down a bit as well. Not only has it been dry, but we've had quite a warm one today. Temperatures were up near 30 in a number of inland areas today. You can see out at Stanfield and Halifax, 26 degrees for that daytime high. It's a big range this time of year of temperatures from coastal stations to inland areas, and we're going to see that range again tomorrow. And with that wind picking up from the south into the afternoon tomorrow, that really could subdue temperatures into downtown Halifax and for coastal areas in general versus inland areas, which will be up into the mid to high 20s if you're away from that water, or at least not downwind of the water for tomorrow. As we take a look at the satellite and the radar picture, any isolated showers that the province has seen today have really been along the Northumberland shore and into eastern areas. And this has not been a widespread soaking rain by any stretch, just very isolated, or the showers very scattered in nature. As we edge into the overnight hours tonight, for northern areas again, past midnight, there's a better chance of seeing some showers set up into tomorrow morning. Slight chance for a rumble of thunder with these. I think the better bet for some more moderate pockets of rain with some convective or thunderstorm activity. Isolated thunderstorms will hold off until later in the day, though. And then as we take a look, the morning hours, those showers do taper off by early afternoon. Then we are watching for clouds to increase as we edge into the evening hours, and this is where you have that chance for showers and isolated thunderstorms into the evening hours. As we look to your Friday, could see some more moderate pockets of rain Friday morning. Again, it's not a widespread rain, though, and then that sky does begin to clear out from west to east into the afternoon. So still some sun into your Friday forecast. I would like to see more cloud and some more widespread raindrops. I think that would be a much more beneficial thing heading into the weekend, certainly for folks that have gotten to start on that gardening. There's a look at our overnight conditions tonight, and you can see north of Halifax as we look to the Truro area, east into really up towards the Northumberland shore, east towards Millay Falls and Sheet Harbour. This is where you have some showers possible tonight into tomorrow morning. You'll want to keep an ear to the sky, but really the better chance for isolated thunder showers will come later in the day tomorrow. Temperatures near the low teens to into the low teens through the overnight hours tonight, so fairly mild. As we look to tomorrow afternoon, again, we're seeing temperatures up in the mid to high 20s for inland areas, but you can see that green along the coast. That's with that wind coming in off the water. That southerly breeze could keep temperatures below 20 degrees for parts of the Halifax area and for areas immediately near the coast. Inland, though, you are seeing more of the yellows and the oranges, the warmer temperatures away from that marine influence. And we do have that chance of showers for northern and eastern areas lingering into the early afternoon before clearing, and then late afternoon, evening, that chance will return again. Otherwise, fairly mild and a mix of sun and cloud for most areas. Do watch for some morning fog patches and some drizzle early morning for coastal areas possible. Thursday night into Friday, we do see some periods of rain. There is that isolated thunderstorm risk, but the showers do begin to clear out as we edge into Friday afternoon. Saturday looking sunny and will be fairly mild. We do see temperatures start to cool off into early next week, and our next best bet for maybe a more widespread rainfall across the province, keeping an eye and fingers are crossed for this one as well into early next week for Tuesday. Tom, Amy?
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Anytime.
And up next, I'll talk with HRM Councillor Sam Austin about the review of the Halifax-Dartmouth ferry service that he has been calling for. That's our newsmaker.
Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News.
An HRM councillor is calling for a review of the ferry crossings between Halifax and Dartmouth following a string of cancellations of the service due to staffing issues. Sam Austin is the HRM councillor for District 5. Mr. Austin, we've talked to the union in the past about this, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, but the problem seems to be persisting. How spotty has the ferry service been of late?
There's been, some weeks it's been all right. Some weeks we've had some cancellations, and it's really not been consistently reliable of late, which is really disappointing. It's a service that a lot of people in Dartmouth rely on, and to not have it reliable is not good.
So how is that impacting people and businesses?
Well, it definitely impacts people in terms of, at least with the 15-minute service on Alderney, which was an expansion over the years, if there's one not running, it's a 15-minute wait rather than half an hour. But, if you were planning your day to be there at a specific time, obviously, if you show up at the terminal and the ferry's not running, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I guess tourism season is on the way. How much does Dartmouth tourism rely on the ferry?
A lot of people take the ferry over to Dartmouth. We have a lot of traffic where people will take the ferry over, maybe they'll walk on the Harbour Trail and take the Woodside ferry back. It is an important part of Dartmouth. It is, as Paul McKinnon with Downtown Halifax would say, it's the sidewalk that connects the two downtowns.
Yeah, so as you say, there's an issue there with reliability, of late at least. You've asked city staff to look at this issue. What do you want staff to look for?
Well, first there's the question of how did we get into this situation in the first place? Because the number of vacancies from what I've had in terms of conversations, we're not down a whole lot of people. So it becomes a question of is the actual number of people even at full complement sufficient? Or should there be more flexibility built into the system? If we are going to hire more people, what does that look like? Are we bringing in more reserve people, or do we want a full extra crew? And if we are bringing in an extra crew, do we want to supplement the service in any way? It has been a continual ask in the past about special events like Pride, when the ferry is just you'll wait 3 or 4 boats to get on it. Is there a way to add service that also addresses that particular issue while we're trying to address this bedrock reliability piece? And what does that look like in terms of the union negotiations? There's contract pieces there have to be worked out. So it's a much more complicated question than just well, let's just throw some people at the problem. We have to decide exactly how we're going to do this.
And you have to get the right people, because they have to be trained and knowledgeable in water safety and in operation of a vessel.
You've got it. It's a little bit different than the bus system, where we have a whole whack of people who drive buses for the municipality. The ferry is a much smaller pool of employees, and they have specific roles. And if somebody is sick, it's not like in the same way that if a bus driver's sick, you call in someone else to come fill that spot. You need at least 4 to run one of the boats. And so if you're missing someone, even if you have the other 3, if you don't have a replacement, well, then you can't operate.
What's your sense? Are those people out there? Is this going to require a bit of a hiring drive, or are those people even out there to begin with?
Yeah, I know they've been hiring to just fill the existing vacancies. If we decide that, yes, we're going to add more people, then yeah, we'll have to go find some people. And, there's some challenges in that regard. This is, I don't have bedrock evidence on this. It's kind of anecdotal just from conversations with some folks out there. The pay is less than you might get on a large commercial vessel. One of the selling pieces that Transit's always had is you get to go home, though, at the end of the day. There's not many jobs in the marine world in which you actually get to stay in your home city and you don't spend time away. So that's one of the kind of quality of life pieces it's always had. But there's a question there too, I think, that needs to be looked at, is the compensation, is the benefits, are they keeping pace with what the market's demanding? Because we're all in competition for people out there.
And so you've asked staff to look at this to try and pinpoint the problem or some of the problems. What's the timeline here? How quickly does this get looked at, and how quickly might something change?
Yeah, I know staff, like management, they're not just sitting there waiting for a council motion and then a report. You know, they're working on what they can within their existing kind of authorities. The bigger kind of picture questions that I'm asking about the service, typically a staff report, it's not a next meeting type thing. It will take at least several weeks, months to get back to council. And if we are going to be changing up the service, adding a lot more people or anything like that, there's budget discussions to be had. And so there's a rhythm to things at City Hall. The wheels of governments, sometimes they don't turn quite as fast as we'd all like, but they do actually turn. And so, that's what we're starting here, is looking at the ferry service to say what's gone wrong, what do we need to do to fix it.
All right, Sam Austin, we'll see what happens with all of this. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your interest.
Coming up, 3 people are dead after being stabbed during a brawl in Montreal's Plateau Montreal borough Tuesday evening. Welcome back. In a move that has angered Israel, Ireland, Norway, and Spain say they plan to officially recognize a Palestinian state on May 28th.
All three countries say it's a critical step toward achieving a two-state solution. Julia Chapman reports.
We recognize the state of Palestine.
This was a coordinated move by the three European countries, all of whose leaders stressed what they saw as the importance of the two-state solution, which has been sidelined over the last few months of war in Gaza. And they said that that conflict had added impetus to this decision. The Norwegian Prime Minister saying it underscores the need to resolve the Palestinian question in order to pave the way for peace. And he said this move would go a long way to promoting moderate voices in Palestinian society. The Spanish Prime Minister said the two-state solution couldn't be destroyed by force. And the Irish Prime Minister said that peace would be achieved by recognizing both the state of Israel and a Palestinian state as well. It's not an unprecedented move. More than 140 members of the United Nations recognize a Palestinian state, but very few of them are countries in Europe. And we have been hearing from other European states today saying they're not ready to take that step yet. It has been met with a very strong response from Israel, which immediately recalled its ambassadors to the three European countries. It's also summoned their ambassadors in Israel for what they've called a reprimand meeting. They've been shown videos there of Israeli female soldiers being kidnapped on October 7th. And Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz says that this is a distorted step that questions Israel's right to self-defense and will do nothing to lead to a peaceful resolution. He also warned of further consequences to come. And also on Wednesday, Israel announced that it was allowing Israeli settlers back into 3 West Bank settlements that they had previously been barred from accessing. It could be unrelated, but it is being interpreted by some as an effort to assert Israeli control over Palestinian territory. Julia Chapman, CBC News, London.
Video showing the Hamas abduction of Israeli military personnel during the October 7th attacks has been released by the families of the hostages. 7 women were taken from an army base. 1 was killed, 1 was freed, and 5 are still being held. The families have released the video to increase pressure on the Israeli government to get them back. Journalist Sarah Coates has that story, and we have a warning. Even though the video has been edited, the images are graphic, and the content in this story may be disturbing to some viewers.
This harrowing footage has been released at the request of the family members of these young women in the video. This was taken on October 7th, the day that Hamas fighters stormed southern Israel, a day commonly known as Black Saturday. Well, in Arabic, one of the fighters can be heard saying, "You are so beautiful." Another says, "Here are the girls who can get pregnant." Well, they've clearly been beaten. They are terrified, and they were taken to Gaza, where they remain. Their families are desperate to get them back.
We know that there is sexual harassment and sexual abuse there. And yes, it's something that I'm trying not to think about it, but it's something real that can happen.
War Cabinet member Benny Gantz says that his stomach churned when watching this clip. He posted on X, "The responsibility of leaders is not just to look the reality in the eye, it is to create a different reality, even when it means making difficult decisions, and that is our responsibility." Well, this comes as protests over the release of hostages are gripping the country as people demand the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu step down over his inaction and what is perceived as his inability to get these remaining Israeli captives back. In Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates reporting for CBC News.
Montreal police are investigating the fatal stabbings of 3 people in what's being described as an alleyway brawl last night. The victims include a 15-year-old and 2 others aged 23 and 25.
Around 15, 16 persons were there, and there's in a fight with, there was an unfortunate event that was not premeditated, and the person were there, unfortunately doesn't cooperate with the police, and they have 3 victims.
Police say more than a dozen people may have been involved in the fight. It broke out early last night in a parking lot of an apartment building. Officers say they found 3 people in critical condition with stab wounds when they arrived. They were rushed to hospital where they were pronounced dead. Police say suspects have been identified, but no arrests have been made. There have been 5 homicides on the island of Montreal in just 4 days.
Wicked weather is storming across the U.S. Midwest. High winds, heavy rains, and tornadoes have left a trail of destruction stretching from Oklahoma to Minnesota. More than 20 tornadoes have been reported across Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Witnesses say a monster twister hit the town of Greenfield, Iowa. Authorities confirm there have been multiple deaths with at least a dozen people hurt. Baseball-sized hail has been reported in Oklahoma, and more than 30 centimeters of rain caused flash flooding in Nebraska. The storm system is moving south and east, threatening a swath of the U.S. from Texas to New York.
Sean Diddy Combs is facing a new lawsuit by a former model who's accusing him of sexual assault in 2003. Crystal McKinney says she was a rising fashion model when she met Combs at a New York restaurant. She alleges Combs invited her to his recording studio where she was drugged and sexually assaulted by the hip-hop mogul. McKinney alleges Combs had promised to help her career. This lawsuit comes just days after a security video surfaced of Diddy beating his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in 2016. Combs apologized for the incident and took full responsibility. The RCMP are staring down a unique problem in the policing world. Is it possible to turn the largest law enforcement fleet in North America green? The federal government has asked Mounties to switch to zero-emission cars over the next decade. But those tasked with implementing that goal are already predicting some speed bumps. Catherine Tunney has more.
When it comes to the RCMP and horsepower, this might come to mind. But soon enough, this could be the norm. The Mounties are responding to a federal request to switch its fleet to zero-emission vehicles by 2035.
We want to see what's in the realm of possible, and we want to be ahead of the curve.
An unprecedented challenge at that. The RCMP has the largest land police fleet in North America, roughly 12,000 vehicles on the road, including in many remote communities.
It's not just taking a retail and putting it out on the road. There's all kinds of equipment that goes into the vehicle, and that in itself is already very complicated.
This Tesla needed to be fitted with lights, a radio, computer, and a new backseat for suspected criminals. One lesson learned so far, this glass roof, not ideal.
It's not the best vehicle for someone who might be trying to escape from the car.
The RCMP says Teslas like this probably aren't suited for every detachment, but it's giving them valuable data on how Mounties can go electric. Charging is easy in Ottawa, but it's a major concern for remote areas where the RCMP has jurisdiction.
When you head out into the prairies and the northern part of Canada and the northern part of our provinces as well, we cover a lot of ground and our detachment area is quite large.
The force is going ahead this year testing more EV models, including the Ford F-150 Lightning, similar to the gas model already in the fleet across the country. Even as the pilot ramps up, it's unlikely northern and remote detachments will see an EV anytime soon.
We don't want to put them into a situation where they will fail and put a member at risk.
The RCMP hasn't put an estimate on the upfront cost of buying new EVs, and they say it's also too soon to tell how much they'll save in the long run on gas. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Ottawa.
All right, Amy wore the right color today, bright yellow, fitting for a sunny day. We've been on a bit of a roll.
So does that mean if I wear yellow every day, we get sun every day?
Work on it, yeah, sure.
I'll do my best.
Well, if you could wear maybe something a little gray, at least a few days a week, so we can get some cloudy and more showery weather.
Yeah, I'll work on that too.
My lawn is very thirsty, is all I'm saying. The grass is starting to feel just a little bit crisp and crunchy. And for folks that have done any planting, I just planted a tree in my yard. I've been having to water daily. It'd be nice to have a bit of an assist from Mother Nature. Now, areas north of Halifax could see some showers overnight into the morning hours tomorrow. A slight chance for some convective activity as well. Better chance for that late in the day tomorrow. But I do expect really most of the province in terms of precipitation. It'd be drizzle. That comes with some fog patches into tomorrow morning. Should burn off quite quickly, though. Then a mix of sun and cloud. You're going to see temperatures in the high teens here, and that's because mid-afternoon is where I'm expecting the warmest part of the day to occur. That southerly wind will keep temperatures closer to 20 near the water. But as you head inland, I think our official daytime high out at Stanfield likely going to be up into the mid-20s tomorrow. But I think much of the HRM and certainly coastal areas across the province, if you're downwind of the water, are going to be considerably cooler. Mid to high teens, if that wind is coming in off the water. For your neck of the woods, up over 20, even into the mid to high 20s for inland areas tomorrow. That breeze, though, fairly light in the morning, picking up in the afternoon. Late in the day, we have a chance for more showers, isolated thunder showers as well. It's not a widespread rain, but for those that see it, could be a good things for the lawns. And
very welcome.
Rain at night, shower, and sun during the day. That'd be a nice combination, wouldn't it?
We'll see.
Yeah. Working on it. Okay, thanks so much, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Well, more than 100 teams of chefs are being put to the test in Vancouver this week. Take a look. That's the sound of competition starting to heat up. These chefs are hoping to stir the pot as they go head-to-head for the World Championships of Chinese Cuisine.
The three-day competition takes place every 4 years and coincides with National Asian Heritage Month. The teams will put their culinary skills on display as they create 4 unique dishes within just 2 hours, covering appetizers, main courses, and desserts to curry the favor of an expert panel. The winner will be crowned at a banquet this Friday.
Who gets to eat it all, do you think?
Yum.
All right, that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.